successful. It just means you need to be a little bit forgiving to yourself in the way that you take things on. Because another problem people have is, I don't know if burnout is the right word, but it's just overdoing it with too much, with not enough time, where everything just sucks, right? It's doing 100 things at 1% instead of one thing at 100%.
Building a successful real estate career requires you to adapt, pivot, and constantly master new skills.
We're Katie and Daniel Steinfeld. We've built our own innovative brokerage, and in this podcast, we've assembled actionable tips and strategies that you can implement to take your business to its maximum potential.
It's time to level up. Level up. Level up.
Hey, y'all.
What?
It's time to level up.
Oh, we sound so energetic today.
It is time to level up.
It is time. All right. So today we are talking about a day in the life of a successful realtor. And we're feeling ultra successful today as I sit here in my daughter's bedroom.
It looks like
somewhat sick.
That's the definition of success to some people, is being able to record podcasts from your 13-year-old daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
I don't know who those people are, but there's somebody out there who wishes they were in your shoes right now.
That's true.
Or at least in that chair. It's a
With
well-decorated room. Well, it's a branded sweatshirt.
That's right.
That's the sign of a successful realtor right there. When you get to
when you've got a branded sweatshirt. Yeah, that's right.
Somebody was just talking about that somewhere, but I don't remember. Oh, I think that was a Ryan Serhant thing. Talking about how he has like a line of clothes with his name on them. And he's like, he doesn't understand why every realtor doesn't just wear their name on their clothes, because why bother with other brands?
Yeah.
That right there was the sound of a successful realtor.
Got a successful call right here. I have no idea who it is.
And you know what?
We have voicemail.
You're letting it go to voicemail. Is that tip number one? Tip number one.
Don't answer your phone.
Don't answer your phone and let everything go to voicemail. You pick and choose what's important.
Yeah. I
thought you gave up on me there. That was more of a joke of a question. It wasn't really me being serious. So for those of you listening, that is not a tip for a successful realtor. Do not pick up your phone ever.
Yeah.
Although we're both guilty of that on many an occasion, that I'll wait to see what the voicemail says if I don't know who it is that's calling. But that's more from a time management perspective rather than an I don't want to talk to people perspective.
Yes. That's true. And a lot of times it's just a fake call or somebody selling me something that I don't want. So
in today's
usually
day
I
and
do
age,
let it to go voicemail. Yeah.
That was
Rarely.
Weird English. Did you just say you let it to go? You let it to go. We're going to have to play the tape back on that, but I know what you're saying.
I don't think I said that, but okay.
It's okay. It's okay. We recorded it. Maybe I'm wrong and I'm just poking fun at something that didn't merit it.
Well, now everybody can listen back at it and say who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah. Well.
But anyway, so
let's talk about this. Let's talk about successful realtors.
Let's do that.
Is this just where we both go quiet? Am
I on a delay or no?
You must be on a delay. I'm finding a lot of pause times every time it's time. That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. Anyway. All right. So first of all, what is a successful realtor? I think that's something that's important to define before we jump into the day in the life of this so-called successful realtor.
I think that's a good way to start, because I was thinking the same thing. And while I'm sure the vast majority of people tuning into this are tuning in solely for the what's going to make me lots of money talk. And to many of us, the definition of a successful realtor or a successful any profession, at least in part, has to do with bringing home the bacon, stacking that cheddar. What's another food metaphor I can use for money? Or that's it, just bacon and cheddar.
That's all I got.
Stopping the gravy train at your house. But
With
but
some cheddar.
with some cheddar, just like a big poutine mix of money. Anyway, but success though, as we've hopefully established over time, in our own business and with our team and through, the other 100 some odd episodes of this that we've done, it's not just about the dollar bills, y'all. It's about really on an individual basis, what it is that's going to make you happy when you go to sleep at night, what, you can look back on and say, that's what I wanted to accomplish. And that's not always money. Yeah. Hopefully for everybody, at least some element of it is not just money, but we will speak in the concept, I guess, or in the context of overall you being pretty happy with the way that you plan out and work your day and the output that comes out, which hopefully results in, I think in every case, if you're going to be productive and you're going to do the things that make you happy, you're going to bring the money in. Like that is a byproduct of this.
Yeah, I agree. And in whatever amount you're happy with, or the type that you're like, whatever you're going for. So whether you're starting out or you've been in this business for a while, obviously, as you said, we've got different definitions of success, but ultimately we all want to build businesses that we're proud of. And so we've got to do some things in the day that allow us to get that success. So, I mean, we can start by kind of throwing out some ideas, but I would say first and foremost, it's the people that are most successful, I find, are the ones that don't get so wrapped up in what others are doing and the successes that are being portrayed through what they see on social media. And if they do see the results of other people and the successes of other people, they're more likely to ask those people how they got to where they are versus feeling threatened and feeling like they're competition and kind of shying away and secretly hating them because they're successful as well.
I think it's good that you started with that because, as you know, I'm not a lover of all things tactics and tangible items. And you started with more of a mindset thing. And I think to set the stage for what a day, if we're going to put this into the context of a day in the life, and we're actually going to go there, it's important to get your head right first and to know how it is you're going to want to address the day and look at the things that you're doing. That's one of those key points. I think that ties into also being aware of the people with whom you surround yourself, that they are positive-minded people, not necessarily like-minded. I think that's a bit, at least to me, if everybody is supportive and collaborative and you can learn from them and they can learn from you and you're able to have good conversation that is focused on outcomes, that's good. And deferring opinions sometimes is helpful. So I don't think you need to surround yourself with 1,000 other of yourself. In fact, I think that's a detriment. But surrounding yourself with people who are doing the things you'd like to accomplish and are willing to share and that you can learn from, people who are on the same journey as yourself. And I guess beyond that and within that, which is two almost opposites, but digging from that, I think it's important that regardless of who they are and where they're at in their career, you're going to have more successful days and feel better if you are surrounding yourself with people, period. And you're not going through your days by yourself in isolation with whatever great plan you might have. Might not be the case for everybody. There are those of you out there who just are loving life, doing things autonomously. But I do believe a key ingredient, not just in your mindset towards other people, but the fact that you have them around you is really important as well as you build your success.
100%. Yeah, I agree. And so another part that I think is really important is setting your days up, like going into your day knowing what you want to accomplish. And I really think that I have found the days where I can be most successful at that is figuring things out the night before, reviewing my schedule for the day coming up just to know what to expect. Wanting to work out in the morning, I put my workout clothes in the basement so that when I wake up, I literally am rolling out of bed and going down there and not having to think or stumble for clothes in pitch black, so I don't want to wake anybody up. So, those kinds of things that what you have to do. Have your phone charged, your computer charged. Like, I know these sound like minor things, but having that all ready to go really helps to set your next day off on the right foot, and you're not feeling like you're set back because your phone isn't charged and you're trying to get it charged before you leave the house or whatever it might be.
I'm smiling because everything you just said segues into how my morning went this morning, which is I planned it out because I was planning to I was planning to go out this morning, which is part of a greater plan, which we can talk about as well. But my plan was to go out and just do a couple kilometers, not fast ones, nice, slow, controlled, walkie kilometers outside before anybody woke up. And everything was laid out there. But then I got downstairs and I realized I had left my phone next to the bed upstairs in the pitch black. And you said, get off on the right foot. And when I went back upstairs, I tripped over our couch with my right foot, trying to get to the phone. And ouch. Yeah. But had I not put I can tell you, when I don't put stuff out the night before, because I'm nowhere near as religious as you are with the working out, it is an excuse for me not to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's it too. Exactly.
Like I'll wake up. I might set the alarm. Because setting your alarm is not starting your day, because the snooze button is just it's easier, or the turning it off or whatever is easier than actually getting up and doing something, right? But when everything is there, like you said, and I've made it easier and almost created a reason to feel bad if I don't just close the loop on all the preparing I've done for something, it's way more likely I'm going to get it done. And arguably, it is almost 100% likely I will not get it done if I don't prepare, especially for morning stuff. Like, I'm not a morning person at all.
Right. Yeah.
It is torture. But when everything's out there, that's what drives me to do it, is having everything ready, whether it's working out, whether it's whatever it is, but like knowing that all the boxes are checked.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, okay, well, sorry, I was going to go into something else. We're going back and forth.
Else. No, go on to something else. I'm
well, I think it ties. Well, I think it also ties into just like distractions, and the successful agents I know are aware of the distractions that can come up in their days and plan around them and purposely get away from those things when they're really in work mode. So if you're working on your business for a couple of hours, it's a matter of actually turning your phone off, putting your phone in another room, and just getting down to what you've set out to do in those like 2 hours of like just pure work mode. And the pure work mode, I think, doesn't revolve around responding to people and being there for people. It's about like actually working on your business and having the systems in place. And you can really only do that if you get some uninterrupted time in your day to be able to do that, versus trying to do it between calls and between emails and all that kind of stuff. It's really about that really focused work that you put in to growing your business is really important.
Well, that's a good segue into how to actually structure all this, right? So we've got kind of an understanding of where your head should be at, the type of surroundings you should and shouldn't have, but what are you actually doing, right?
Yeah.
And this is, to me, where if you don't have the same way you're planning your clothes or whatever it is at the beginning of the day, if you don't have a clear view of what a day looks like before you get into that day, you're screwed before you start. You're going to be spinning your wheels and wondering what's next and forgetting things. And ultimately, if we define success as looking back on your day and saying that was a good day and I got done what I wanted to get done, that will not happen if you're not deliberate in the way you plan it out. And so, like everything else we do, I think this begins, and to some degree ends, with putting down where you want to be and breaking that down backwards to the things you need to do to get there. And then finding the time and plotting that into what your days look like. So at a high level, it's identifying all the singular items that are on the road to your goals and fitting that in among all the stuff that's already there and all the stuff that is kind of the set in stone scheduled items that I'll say need to get done. We might get into the fact that certain things don't need to get done, but the things that you know you're already doing, there's enough downtime that might now be taken up by a lot of this distraction because you don't have a plan, that now is where you can plot in these tasks and things that are going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great way to think about it is if you set your morning up right with knowing exactly what you're going to wear, what you're going to eat, like what workout you're going to do, whatever it is, like do that to your work day. And if you sit down and start working and you know exactly the path that you want to take, it just makes it so much easier. You just go from one thing to another.
Mm-hmm.
And so building on that, sorry.
No, keep going. We're on a delay. So I thought you stopped.
No, sorry. Building on that though, I think also one trap a lot of agents fall into is very easy to focus in on work that's not necessarily money-making work, like not having conversations with people, focusing more so on what does my Facebook ad or my Google ad look like, or the branding, or, you know, putting the perfect caption in for your Instagram post. You know, it is important to be out there and be advertising, obviously, but at the end of the day, if you're not having conversations with people, following up, checking in on people, you're not going to make any money. And you've got to be consistent at that. If you say to yourself, I reached out to a few people yesterday, so I'm good for the next week, that's not going to get you to where you want to be. You really have to be focused on continuing to have conversations, build relationships. That is what this business is all about. And, you know, we're not saying call people for 3 hours a day, but you need to make a goal for yourself of some sort of money-making activity every single day and really stick to that. Like that should be the number one priority in your day. Maybe you don't get like your ad finalized on Facebook, but if you've had 5 or 10 conversations with people, I guarantee you that's going to move your business a lot faster than any ad or marketing plan that you want to put in place.
Absolutely. I think what everybody needs, regardless of how successful or efficient you think you are, is a bit of a timeline detox for yourself. So to everyone who's listening, take a look at what the last week looked like for yourself, or go to the last day or whatever it is, and really ideally put onto paper, create a visual of, you know, what amount of time was focused on money-making activities, things that were actually furthering your ability to bring in business. What percentage of the day is focused on minor, repetitive, administrative, whatever it is type things? What percentage was distraction? What percentage was personal? You know, and what percentage was just, now that you look at it and you've looked back on your day and are not pleased, what percentage of your day was that stuff that was a waste of time, or were things that you do that just don't serve you or your business well, right? And when you see that, before you plan out your next day or your next week or whatever it is, create what that ideal mix should look like for yourself. Right. So like we talk about the specific tasks and the specific things you want to get done, which are going to plot their way into this. But what does, like, if you pictured like, not a bar graph, like one of those kind of like a rectangle where it's split into parts or whatever, like what part of the whole is going to be money-making activities or net outreach, however you want to bucket it, but create that you can say, this is what's going to make me happy. And at the same time, like Katie said, make sure, just because making you happy could be 100% vacation, that's not what that means. It's like, make sure that there's a piece of that allocated to the stuff that's moving you forward. And then you've got almost like a clearer canvas to work with as you start to put all the different pieces into there. And you can bucket it in such a way that you might have to adjust that mix if you realize there's more you want to do than you've given yourself time for. But if it's to the detriment of things that are also important that are going to make you happy and successful, it just means you need to be a little bit forgiving to yourself in the way that you take things on. Because another problem people have is, I don't know if burnout is the right word, but it's just overdoing it with too much, with not enough time, where everything just sucks, right? It's doing 100 things at 1% instead of one thing at 100%.
Yeah.
So that's a little middle of the episode homework for everybody, is audit your own time and what you're doing now, because it will poke holes in what is inefficient. And we're all inefficient to some degree.
Yeah.
And create that baseline so that you can build into that the stuff you want to do in a way that makes sense with the actual number of hours you have in the day. Ooh, I almost swallowed my tongue there. I think my tongue was trying to tell me to shut up. It was like covering my throat while I was talking. It like curled back in. It's like, stop talking, dude.
Yeah. But I think the people that maybe are struggling a little bit will recognize that most of their time is not spent on those money-making activities that reach out to people. And ask yourself why. Like, why is it that you're not wanting to do that? And again, it goes back to that whole valley of despair for a lot of us. And we've talked about this in past episodes. When you're initiating new ideas, or you're kind of doing the easy tasks, it's easy because you see the finish line and you can get through it. Whereas when you're talking to clients and trying to get business, you're likely not going to talk to 3 people in a day and get business every single day. It's going to take you, and I keep saying this, and this is so true for us and what we've seen in our own businesses, is it's going to take you 60 to 90 days to start seeing some consistent results from the work that you're putting in. So it's really about recognizing that, like, I have to do this for at least a couple of months before I start seeing results. And if you remind yourself of that, it becomes a lot easier just to do it and put it out there. And another thing, it's really about focusing on what's in your control. What's in your control is you can contact 5 or 10 people a day and have conversations. What's not in your control is whether or not those people, for the most part, are going to want to do business with you, or whether they're looking to buy or sell at this stage, or if they know of anybody. Part of, obviously there's scripts and things like that you can kind of work through to get people wanting to work with you. But at the end of the day, if people don't want to buy or sell a house, you're kind of, you can't force somebody to do that. So the thing you can control, though, is having the conversations and strengthening the relationships. And if that's, you can check that off at the end of the day, saying that's what you were able to do for a large majority of your time in the day, then I think that's a successful day for you, or for any agent that's looking to up their business.
Totally. At the simplest, if you can look back on each day and say, I created one new relationship and I strengthened one existing relationship, to me, that's a successful day, right? And we don't subscribe to the whole, here's the quota everyone needs to do. Like, if you don't make this many calls or knock on this many doors, it was an unsuccessful day, or you're not going to get where you want to go, because that might not fall into the strategy you've got and the goals that you've got. So it's not about that, but relationships are a part of every strategy. If they're not a part of what your goal is, then you need to rethink things, right? Regardless of what type of relationship it is, you need to be building those, creating those and building those, ultimately, closing those and turning them into more. And so that needs to be at a very basic level, what you look back on. But to build on what you were saying, you need to have the ability to be critical of yourself now before anything else. If you can't be honest with the inefficiencies of what you're doing right now, and the holes in the way that your day is planned and the things that can be better, you're not going to be able to improve. It's very hard to create a strategy to improve on something if you think nothing's wrong, or you think it's the fault of somebody else or something else.
Yeah, that's a big
It
one.
is your own fault. It's all our own fault. We make our decisions the same way you're going to decide to revamp things, whatever you want to call it, renovate your schedule, basically. And that starts with a real honest look at the time you spend right now and the ability to say, I waste my time here, right? Or I distract myself here, or this is not getting me anywhere and I keep doing it because it's easy, right? If you say those things, you can start to pick at what you've got. It's very unlikely, and it probably shouldn't be. I don't know your opinion on this, if it should be a full 180, like from inefficient to here's the plan, I'm going to do it. Like it might be a case where you chip away things bit by bit to make it easier, right? Like if you're spending your whole day on social media now, you might not be able to go cold turkey on day one, but you should definitely, take an 8-hour day and give yourself 20 minutes a day that you're on social media so that you're not like huddled in a corner shivering without your phone. But you've got to identify the problem and address it as you're building out what this day is going to look like for yourself.
That's
okay. I've got the habit of talking on a rope, so I didn't know if you wanted to cut in there with something.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, I think, self-awareness is key for sure. And the whole blaming thing, blaming other people, blaming outward forces on the position that you're in, is a very easy thing to do, but something that you should try to not do, because the moment you take accountability for your life and the results that you want to happen for yourself, the more likely you're going to find solutions to the challenges you're facing. Yeah.
So putting some actual meat on the bone here with what people, because everyone's saying, okay, this is great. My mind's good. I've got the right environment. I'm ready to go. What am I actually doing? Right? Like, what is it? And we've said a couple of things, in terms of building relationships and all there. But I think the real answer to this comes back to a lot of the things we've been talking about very recently with our team as well, which is identifying what the goals are: short-term, long-term, medium-term. And again, working back to develop a very specific set of what are the tactics, what are the tasks, what are the things that need to get done to achieve this end game. Because like you were saying, everyone's focused on winning and the solution to the problem without doing all the steps involved to get there. And when they don't get there on day 1, 2, and 3, they give up. The goal of creating a successful timeline is having the ability to do the things you need to do each day to get you to that goal, and to identify as you're doing them that these are moving you forward, so that you might not get a listing every day. You're not going to get a listing every day if your goal is listings or whatever, but you will be able to tell yourself that I did the things today that I need to do to get me there, that are not just going to get me a listing or 3 listings or whatever, but they're building a sustainable system for myself that is serving me well down the road when I move on to different goals and all that, where I know that I'm just building this machine that's getting ingrained in the way I work my days and work my strategy. So if that's one of your goals, and I think for all of us, like we said, money and sales and listings and all that is at least part of where we're headed. We're talking to realtors right now. It's not all about, I want quality of life and that's all that'll make me happy, is going to the spa every day. Everything's still built on, I want to make money in this job, and that comes from success in your business, and that comes from what? Like, that's where we all need to then take a look at what we enjoy, what it is that we find is the strategy we'd like to follow. And you're welcome to listen to any of our 100 other episodes where we talk about all kinds of other strategies. Like, we don't need to get specific now, but the point is identifying those items that you can bucket in, and you've already got a layout, I hope, of what your days are going to look like. 30% of your days is whatever. It's outward relationship building. It's marketing activities. It's whatever it is you've set out for yourself. Make sure you're filling those, and make sure you give yourself some time that's not like set in stone, because obviously stuff comes up, life happens, opportunities arise, challenges arise that are not part of your plan, and you need to be comfortable enough to deal with those contingencies that happen without being like, shit, I've planned 12 hours today. I don't have time for my kid's sick, or I don't have
Yeah.
time for whatever. So
Yeah.
that's the step I think that everybody needs to take once they establish what it is they want and what it is success looks like to them in
Mhm.
every term, in the near term and the long term.
Yeah. Yeah. And also having that focus on the one thing that you're using to drive your business. Because most successful real estate agents I know have a one focus, whether it's a geographic area, whether it's putting videos out on YouTube consistently. It's that consistency. You have to choose something that you're willing to be consistent at every single day. And if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stay consistent at it. So figure out what that is and start working on it. And there's just so many examples out there of people that do that and see the results and are well known. And it's just, to me, it's easier said than done. But if you can recognize that and just stick to it, it's going to be a lot easier for you to really start seeing results quicker, rather than, as you said, focusing on 1% on a million things, going from TikTok to Instagram to YouTube to email campaigns and flyers and postcards and all over the board. Like, anything that you do should be there to support the bigger focus that you have. So if you're focused on a particular neighborhood, why are you going to buy online leads for a condo, like a downtown condo like area or geographic area? Like, what, like you can't be all over the place. You can't be all things to all people.
Yeah. And that extends. I think some people think like, okay, I can just be focused on, I don't know, Instagram, let's say. So I'm focused now. But if your focus within that focus is still not making any sense,
True.
It's really easy to bounce around. Like if we use Instagram, like you could one day be putting up glamour shots of you in Yorkville, and then the next day it's a how-to video in a rural community,
Right. Yeah.
That's all Instagram, but no one knows what the hell you're doing. Right. So
like social media is like the vehicle to get your message out, whatever message you decide, like whatever platform you decide to use to get that message out. And it doesn't have to be social media, but you've got to be strategic about it, because if you're on Facebook trying to appeal to millennials in the condo market, like they're not on there. Like that's not where you're going to see results. So you really have to be deliberate and conscious of exactly how you're getting your message out there to make sure you're hitting the right people.
I'm on Facebook though. So if you want to reach me, you can still go on Facebook.
Yeah, we're barely millennials. We're like the first,
we're millennial-ish. Yeah, no, it depends on the
1980
definition.
or 1981. I think we're definitely millennials. we're on the cusp.
We're definitely, I thought that we were, some said yes and some said no.
No, we are.
You're looking it up now.
I am, but they've named other, I don't know who they are, or who are these people that name these generations. Honestly, like and honestly, identify who they are. I don't know. And we just follow their wisdom. But there's been like smaller subsets of generations that we've been grouped into rather than millennials. But I think from a bigger generation standpoint, we are that 1981 and 1996. So we're
like right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oxford Dictionary describes a millennial as a person born between the early 1980s and the late 1990s. It's a little, so that we could be in there.
No, we are. 81 is in there. 1981. That was the start of the millennial generation.
I see another one here that says millennials were born from approximately 1977 to 1995.
What? No, that's a lie.
Everything's bullshit. It's who cares? It's fine. I'm still on Facebook. Is the moral of the story. I'm still on Facebook, and I don't care what it says I'm supposed to be or who is saying that, because you don't define me by the year I was born. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Well, you do, and they do.
All right,
whoever they are.
Boomer.
Boomer, not a boomer.
Boomer.
Boomer. Boomer Wells used to be a pitcher on the Jays, but that's a whole other story. Boomer Esiason used to be a quarterback on the Bengals. Anyway, another sidebar to all this, if we bring it back to what we're talking about, because pretty soon I'm going to be too old to remember what we were saying 5 minutes ago. I think we also need to be able to realize on a day-to-day basis a couple things. First of all, know when you're out of gas. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes like today's an example. Like we have a schedule, we're sticking to it, but like thankfully a couple things canceled on us today, or certain things that got in the way would have made it difficult to actually go forward with our schedule, right? And now we're later into the day and things are getting done, but you're in our daughter's bedroom, there's kids that are sick at home. Again, it's not exactly how we planned the day. You're not feeling 100% today. Nope. So you need to be able to say, okay, I wanted to, and I was going to do these things today, but I'm out of gas. And if you're out of gas, in a lot of cases, you're better off saying, okay, how am I going to schedule this in tomorrow? Or how can I make sure this is still going to get done when my head's in the game?
Well, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. It's contingency planning.
Right. But on the other hand, and maybe less so, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm like, okay, or like when it's the end of the night and we're going to just do one thing, right? Like one of us goes to bed and like, I'm just going to get this one thing done. I'll be right up. But then you get on a roll and you've got adrenaline and things are getting done and your mind's racing and you're like, I can keep plowing through this and I'm going to get things done. That's okay too. I think you need to, it's a different kind of self-awareness of like how much gas is in the tank and are you in a position to really push your own strategy forward, right? Because there's nothing wrong with front loading efficiency if it means you're going to free up time later. It's just make sure that what you've set out to do, you've got a plan to get it done, because that is the theme of looking back and being successful, because all the things you set out to do are built with that goal of success in mind. So they're all pointing you in the direction of where you want to be. If you do them, you're traveling that road. You're going to feel good about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the final thing I wanted to mention is just with regards to boundaries. I think boundaries are really, really important. And the agents that aren't following what their clients are saying, but taking the lead and letting them know when properties don't match what they're actually looking for. So I'm not going to show it to you, or this place is priced $300,000 under value and it's not within your budget. Like making those somewhat difficult decisions for some people, it's a difficult thing to say to their clients, but and also when it comes to scheduling, I think scheduling is a big challenge for a lot of agents. They want to be available at any point to their clients, which is understandable, but you've also got a life and you've got to put in place some boundaries as to when you are available. And if you're not available one day, your client's likely going to be available later that week. So it's not like it's the end of the world. So make sure you're putting in place boundaries when it comes to your time and your family. And also one thing I was talking to one of our agents about this past week is just try to book one day off every week. It might not be a weekend, depending on what your business is like or what part of your career you're in. Because if you're in that business building part, it's a little bit of a challenge to take a weekend off. But I honestly look forward to those days that I have off, because I know I don't have to be anywhere and it's enjoyable. Like you deserve that. And when you feel overworked and you get burnt out, it's just really, really hard to feel motivated to get back into things. So the time off is just as important as the real time that you're putting into building your business.
That day tomorrow. What? Most of tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's interesting because taking a day off will impact your forward momentum far less than taking a week off. Right. Or like people who said, I'm going, and I mean that in like, obviously take a vacation, those sorts of things. But, for people who say, you know what, I'm not going to work this summer. The ability to start your momentum up is basically from zero, versus if you take a day off, that's not even a blip in your schedule. That's just part of your strategy, and it's fine, right? Even a week. I think, yeah, you could, if a week is planned in, it's fine. But all this comes back to the fact that we're entrepreneurs. Like, we are our own business here. We're in the unique position that's a benefit and a burden of making the rules for ourselves. So if you don't step up and do this for yourself, barring the fact that you might be working with coaches or mentors or people pushing you along, it still comes down on you to have the discipline to build this for yourself and then to actually do it. Right. So that is a big freedom we all have, and a privilege we've got as people who own our own businesses. But it's a responsibility that if you don't do it properly, you'll drown. And so you've got to really look at this as a necessity of you being an entrepreneur and doing this effectively.
Yeah. 100p, yo.
100p, yo.
All right. I am good to go. I am not feeling great, so I'm going to go. I'm putting that boundary in place.
It's good. All right.
So,
and I missed a bunch of things I had to do this morning, so now I got to do them so that I feel productive and have a successful day. But my day's always successful when I talk to you.
Thanks.
I'm talking to the audience. To the audience is what I'm talking to.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. You too.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure to subscribe for new episodes. And if you don't mind reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, we'd appreciate it. I just looked at our podcast reviews. We have 10. We got one star, which is kind of sad. So if you love us,
a 1 star.
No, I don't know. There was no comment. It was just somebody that got angry and tapped 1 star.
Probably one of our
that's
family
okay.
members.
That's okay. But if you can help us out and up our average, we would appreciate
it. Review us so that our average increases from 4.7 to 4.8, please.
I'd appreciate it.
All right, go have successful and efficient days, everybody. The rest of your life begins right now.
So do it.
True for everybody. That's true for anybody who just heard that.
It's true.
All right.
Goodbye.
Later.
Level up.